Hello and welcome to the first edition of Mags Talk. I'm your host today, Ben Wade, and I'm joined by Simon Campbell. How are you doing, Simon?
Good evening. I'm good, thanks.
So this is our first edition of some bi-weekly videos we'll be giving you where we'll just chat things about Newcastle and what's going on in football. So the first topic is obviously we played Hull last night. You and our good friend Green Street Cowley went to that. How did that go?
Pre-season friendly written all over it. Like on the way down, we were like, "Oh, why have we decided to do this on a Tuesday night on the way to Hull?" But we got there and there's 2,500 Toon fans, and it was really enjoyable just being part of the atmosphere again. Like the World Cup was class, but there's nothing like watching Newcastle play. And even though it was a friendly, and the team sheet and the players who came on was a bit of a gag. So first half we looked good. We had Shelby, but by the second half, he put Isaac Hayden at centre half, and the whole game, I think, from a Rafa point of view, was about making a point about the team we've got and the kind of the deficiencies we have. So, and yet we still got a 2-2 draw out of it, and it was quite enjoyable. So yeah, class. Probably done for pre-season friendlies, but very enjoyable.
It was our first sighting of the new signing Key. Sort of initial thoughts on him?
Yeah, that's a funny thing. You go to a pre-season friendly, and normally what you're looking for is the new lads. Like, why is the new lads? See what they're like. The only one I had was Key, and he'd only just come back and trained on Monday, so we're thinking, I probably won't see him. But he came on at a point in the game where we'd had about 30 minutes of just getting battered by Hull, and then Key came on and kind of showed up the midfield a bit. He looked really good, really tidy player. He took a couple of corners, set up a goal, got an assist. Quite pleased with him. Yeah.
Where was he deployed? Which position?
Centre mid. We had so Perez came on up front, and Longstaff, the lad who scored in Ireland, was playing behind him. So we had Key and I don't know who else was in midfield at that point. Isaac Hayden, centre half.
Could be one for the future if he sticks about.
We need Hayden centre half, no chance. I've never seen a worse performance at centre half. We got battered and gave so many chances away. Anyway,
encouraging. Who did stand out for you then? Who was probably would you say was the best player on show?
Shelby. By far the best football player on the pitch. Hoslu, really good goal, really good finish. Shelby put the ball in from there. He put it on a plate from literally.
Took it better than his Liverpool goal last
season. Yeah, and just
good to see.
Richie and Murphy were on the wings, and it was the same old story as last season where he kind of had occasionally getting the byline and crosses came in, but nothing really coming of it, and it was. We just need some fresh energy. That was the main thing that came out last night. Yes, Rafa's making a point by playing all these kids all over the place, and Isaac Hayden at centre half and Longstaff up front basically, and he was in midfield I think against Ireland, and just kind of there wasn't that many positives other than just seeing the lads.
Any of the younger ones stand out? Think that it could get a shot.
I don't want to be too negative because they're all young making their debuts, but none of them are Premier League quality. None of them.
Oh well, that's a scathing statement on Newcastle's academy. So we'll move on to, it'll probably be a nice little segue into the transfers then, or lack of, should we say. But there's been a few rumours that we're looking at a couple of players that may be close to coming in. So this Fabian Schar obviously is the one on everybody's lips at the minute. What do you know about him?
I know what I did about 10 minutes of Wikipedia research before this, if I'm honest. Deportivo is going to cost 3 or 4 million supposedly, so we've sold Mbemba for about the same. I was at 4 or 5 million. We're getting in a cheaper defender, and we've also just revealed last night that we could have a serious long-term injury on Florian Lejeune, and we had Isaac Hayden playing in defence in the friendly, so it's a little bit worrying. It just kind of, if you had any doubts over whether or not the Rafa transfer situation was just kind of time was the issue, I don't think it is. I think we really are scratching around looking for £3 million players. I don't know much about them. Obviously, any new face and Rafa Benitez is a good thing, but it's not looking great, is it? If that's what we're aiming for.
To be honest, Mbemba's a funny one. He was a player I always liked. I rated him. I thought he was a really good player. Had all the sort of the natural tools. He was fast. About 6 foot, decent enough in the air. But he just never really settled. He never got a good chance. So I think if we can get a player that'll come in and actually contribute, then who cares how much he costs? Like I think we didn't get enough out of Mbemba that we probably should have done, and it's a frustrating one. I think his career at Newcastle will go down as an opportunity missed. But as I say,
it's a funny one for a centre half. You have to create a partnership, don't you? And you never really got a partnership going with anyone. You always made whoever he was playing with look a bit worse. Like Lascelles struggled to play with him, Clark certainly struggled to play with him.
That's probably a bit of a scaling indictment on him, really, isn't it? It says a lot about him. So
football and ability wise, one of the best players I've had around for a while in terms of his actual quality. But he's never really got going, and I can understand it. Rafa's obviously decided he hasn't got time to try and change the way he is, and it's, shades of the Mitrovic situation. He's got a player with some ability who just can't get it. He can't play football the way Rafa wants to, and so he's been moved on.
Are you surprised? I mean, so the other players we've been linked with Fernandez and also this Reyes player. Are you surprised that they're all centre backs? Would you have said centre back was one of the positions that we need to improve?
It makes you think that they've known about Lejeune a bit longer, or there's been doubts in there. Obviously, if you sell Mbemba, we're back down to 3 centre halves, one of which is Kieran Clark, and I think he's been proven to be a kind of not really up for the Premier League task. So centre half is a place we need to improve on.
I think when you look at Kieran Clark's last 2 seasons in the Premier League, that there's not much sort of highlight there. There's not much to sort of sing and dance.
I mean, he was quality in the Championship.
Yeah, and that's it. I think there's nothing to be. It's not a too shabby career if you go and have a decent career in the Championship. There's plenty decent players who've done that. So maybe he's just found his level. He's probably a top quality Championship defender, but there's plenty of players like that gets caught in between the 2 leagues, so nothing to be ashamed of. Out of the 3 sort of centre backs that we've been linked with, who do you have a preference? Who would go for?
No, I mean it's the same old story. We've got these names that we barely know. I've got no real preference. Anybody is better than none. You just want the best quality player you can get, but Rafa knows better than we do what that is.
We're desperate for a striker. There's links to the Japanese striker Muto. Do you know anything about him?
I don't even know who he is. I think
played in the World Cup.
Dodgy googled him this week, and what did he get? Like a multi-agency monster or something? Monster space oddity? Like the word doesn't exist.
The invading alien from the recent Godzilla film.
I haven't got a clue, mate. Not a clue who he is.
Oh well, we'll move swiftly on. So you met with Steve Wraith last night, Tuesday night. How was that?
Yes, we did. Steve Wraith, very very interesting fellow. He described himself as Marmite. He's one of those kind of you love him or you hate him kind of guys, and he doesn't mind that reputation he has. He gave us a very interesting insight into kind of what's been going on. He's got some quite close ties with Rafa, which he goes into. He's still in touch with Staveley and Staveley's husband, so he's still got a little bit to say about that and kind of where they are with the deal and whether or not it's still happening. Steve Wraith thinks it still is happening. He's in his opinion, Newcastle still will be sold within the next year, which was quite encouraging to hear. At the same time, he kind of gave an insight into what's going on at the club, and it isn't looking good for Rafa at the minute. But you never know. It all hinges on whether or not we get sold basically. But very, very interesting. He gives a bit of a background in kind of where his business comes from, the Newcastle legends and how that all started, and yeah. Good bloke. Interesting.
Brilliant. Well, keep an eye out for that podcast coming out very soon, listeners. Next.
He also he touches on the vicar bit, which I thought was quite interesting. he holds his hands up, but it's worth a listen. Definitely worth a listen.
There you go, a little sneak preview for your listeners. Next week we're off to Porto. I say we, neither me or yourself are going, but some True Faith podcast members are going over. We actually went to the similar area a couple of years ago. We took in the tournament and we saw the Olympiacos game. Did you come on that?
No, I did not. but ask away.
I was just thinking.
The weather was lovely.
Actually, yeah. What was your favourite memory of it?
Was this before or after Rafa? I've no idea, mate. I wasn't there.
Well, I'll tell you how I found it.
Yeah, you tell me.
The game wasn't brilliant, but it was quite interesting. It was a nice stadium, I remember that. Lovely weather. It was nice to see the lads collecting some silverware. Rarely, we've got a massive bridge.
The big bridge thing, yeah.
Looked like the Tyne Bridge, so that was quite nice to something to celebrate. It's not often we'll get to experience that. But yeah, I think we there was 2 games we took in actually, because we were all adamant we weren't going to go to the final, and then lo and behold, we all did the 2-hour trek from where we were staying to go and see. But it was worth it. Winning I think we won it on a penalty shootout as well. So
pre-season,
we got a bit of everything, all action. But tonight was really good. So we've got a few of the lads. I think Adam, Rob, and Norman are going over for that. So they'll be giving us an update on how things look over there, and hopefully give us a bit more insight into how the squad are shaping up. And the last thing we want to discuss is about the Ashley Out campaign. So how do you think things are turning? It's obviously there's been quite a bit of there's been a lot of coverage of it the last few weeks. It seems to be building up pace, which is really encouraging. The fans seem to be starting to really sort of reignite behind sort of taking action and things like that, which I think is really brilliant. We've obviously seen politicians getting involved in it now as well. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's a lot of stuff to cover there, but I mean, whether or not you believe in the Rafa hashtag being particularly effective, I mean it is. It's got everyone talking about it. So we've got celebrities talking about it. We've got it's made its way to the House of Commons with an MP, and obviously nothing's going to come of that. But the fact that it's happening there is going to annoy Ashley. It's going to irk him that it's being brought up in these situations. The fact that you've got the whole fan base kind of looking to galvanise itself and do something about him is a good thing. Definitely. Regardless of who's behind it and the kind of weird social media aspect of it. I think it's a good thing. It's forced us to have quite a few interesting conversations. I think the podcasts in the last week have been very interesting about kind of what to do, what Rangers doing now, does everyone feel about it, what's the next course of action, how can we be successful in turning this into some sort of momentum, and where does it go from there? And I think it's all very positive. Yeah. Because there's nobody left now, who can defend Mike Ashley and sort of say, well, you know what, he's done this and this. He's fucking over the best manager we've ever had. So it's just it's time for action, and yeah, definitely, I'm all for it. I think it's good to see as well, as we say, it's getting a lot of traction where the fan base actually seems to be united. Obviously, that's the club name. We're actually uniting for once, and everyone seems to be pulling in the same way. And I think that's the biggest, most encouraging thing is that, yeah, you're right. In the past, there's been lots of different ways people sort of thinking differently around sort of taking different action, how to try and force a move or something. But I think people are starting to click that actually we're better to amalgamate, and the more fan groups and the more different sort of movement groups that get involved and work together, the better we're going to be, and strength in numbers will always preside over sort of the individual. So I think it's really, really encouraging that people are starting to talk, starting to sort of galvanise, and there's actually some sort of talks going on there around sort of how we can make some moves on it. Yeah, so I mean, I think the people behind it are meeting with the Supporters Trust tonight, I think, while we're here, and various fans groups and people behind the flags and all sorts of others, and hopefully they can come up with some real, like, genuine action and plans and stuff that people can get behind and make some progress. So yeah, it's all positive. It's long overdue, and I think what's important is the action takes place. I don't think we should give up on it, but we also don't let it distract Rafa, because at the end of the day, he's still managing Newcastle. He's still got a team of players that we all believe in, and we all kind of have grown to really like and appreciate. So, and Steve Wraith actually said the same thing to us. It's like, as long as it's not happening during games and in the stadium, we're all for it, obviously. Exactly. That's the thing. I think there's a time and place for it. But again, we don't need to be. I mean, you've seen in the past some sort of scenes where people have sort of gotten altercations and things. We don't need any of that. We need to be pulling together. Everyone wants the same thing, which is the main thing, and I think that's got to be the focal point for if there are any disagreements. Just think we're all there to get the same action. So it's really, really encouraging signs, and hopefully it'll gather some pace, and we'll start to see some action on that. So that's really encouraging, and fingers crossed soon we'll get rid of him. Right, well, thank you for listening. This has been Two Mags talking. Two Mags talking. We're still working on the name. Mag Chat. What's it called? Mag Talk. Mags Talk. We'll finish this. This has been Mag Talk. Mag Chat. Mag Talk. Subscribe. Please subscribe to Mag Chat. Mag Talk. This is Mags. We'll have to cut this bit out. It's fine, man. Say it in. Mags. Oh, the bloopers. On YouTube. MagTube. The name will be at the top, so don't worry. Whatever that says, that's what it is. Mags Tube Chat. Just tune in next time and see what we're called. Yeah. Cheers. Thank you, Si. Cheers.